Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Head in the Clouds, and this is going to be a special one. My name is Michael Gibbs, and I'm the founder and CEO of Go Cloud Careers, and I am here with a distinguished group of people, and it's going to be a party tonight, and we're going to have lots of.
Party, yeah.
So this distinguished group of people includes me, and obviously I'm the CEO, Alonzo, who's a new C-level executive at Go Cloud Careers. He just started on Monday. Welcome,
Wonderful.
Alonzo, everybody. He's our Chief Content Officer. So welcome, Alonzo. New announcement. We're super excited. So now you know me. You know my Chief Operating Officer, Chris, who's on vacation. So the inmates are going to run the asylum today.
Yeah.
And we're going to have a fun time. It's going to be me, who probably could use a manager, Alonzo, who needs a manager, but guess what? I'm not going to be his manager tonight. Chau, who's about the best thing I can possibly describe. She came to us from Vietnam as our student. She's with us. She's an incredible cloud architect. I mean, unbelievable. We love having her. And Leo, who's my senior manager of operations. I can't even begin to say enough good things about him. Leo adds a couple more languages to our company, and as a company, you know, we're an international bunch. I speak English and Greek. Leo speaks Spanish and Portuguese. Chao speaks Vietnamese. Alonzo speaks English and Japanese. And there's other languages in our company too. So we're out here. It's all about the people. It's a global community, and let's have a party. So, you know, let's talk about some things that are going to go on tonight. I'm sure we'll cover the topic of a cloud architect versus cloud engineer, because one of you guys is going to ask me. I know somewhere along the line, someone's going to ask me about cloud architect training, solution architect training, cloud computing fundamentals. It'll happen. I'm sure that you guys will ask about cloud architect career development and cloud engineer career development, and that's fine. We'll talk about cloud architects versus solution architects. We'll talk about cloud architect presentation skills, cloud career consulting, leadership skills and technology, and cloud engineer career development. It's going to be party time, but we're going to talk about leadership skills first and times where we've been lucky in our careers. So my team has reminded me I should say this. So letting everybody know, if you're looking for your first cloud architect job, we've got our cloud architect career development program and currently 20% off. Chal from my team will pop that in the chat box with the links in the description as well below. We are running right now 50% off our cloud engineering program. It's kind of crazy, and the reason we're doing this is as follows. I am so excited about this program. We want to fill it with a whole bunch of students real fast, so we can get all our cloud engineers hired real fast, so we can show the world that our cloud engineers get hired as fast as our cloud architects. So we'll talk about, so if you guys can all give me a cloud hired in the chat box, it's really great. So we'll talk about that. I'm going to talk about times so I wanted to let you know about that. On Friday, I interviewed the CEO of an amazing sustainability and cryptocurrency company about the world's first sustainable cryptocurrency. We're going to do it live with you. You can ask us questions. The CEO was on with me. Lots of fun, and it's Friday. So now let's have a party, everybody, and let's have a ton of fun. So, you know, I'm going to kick it off. We're going to talk about leadership skills and lessons that we've learned in our career. And then we're going to get into the times we've been lucky. And let me tell you this. Sometimes it's important to be lucky too. But when it comes down to it, I'm going to talk about the 3 lessons that I learned. Then we're going to go to Alonzo. And then Chau and Leo are going to participate as they see fit. You know, Alonzo and I are used to being live all the time, but you know, my technical team, and they're really smart. They'll give you any answers you want. So let's have some fun. First lesson I learned in life, Alonzo, was it's never about the tech. Now, this was the hardest lesson for me to learn. And here's why it's the hardest lesson for me to learn. I'm a techie. I can't tell. Don't let anybody know that. Okay, I admitted it. Chau and Leo saw it today. I was configuring some OSPF and BGP, and they went, "Oh wait, Mike's still a techie." So they got to see it. So yes, I'm still a techie. But here's the thing: when the beginning of my career, I was all about getting tech and certifications, and I knew not to waste my time on associate certifications. So I guess getting a million expert and professional certifications, I was racking up a couple by the day. You know what? I tried to tell people all about my technology, and then the guy next to me that didn't even understand what the router was or how the switch worked got promoted into this distinguished architect position. And I went, wait, why did this guy get a $350,000 job and he doesn't know how any of this stuff works? And I watched the guy work and I went, uh-oh, he did something different. I was talking BGP attributes. I was talking about BGP communities. I was talking about tagging routes, and wow, I was getting techie. You know what this guy that didn't know the tech was doing? He was talking transformation. I went with him because the reason I went with him in a customer meeting is he knew no tech, zero. And when I went with him in this customer meeting, he spoke to the CEO and he talked transformation. And he asked the CEO about their business and he asked about their employees. And right in front of me, this guy found like $3 million of budget, like instantly, 20 some years ago. And it was all based upon him asking about the business and about the people. And I was like, what the heck is this? And I didn't know about any of it. I just went, why are these people that don't understand the tech earning so much? And what the heck is he doing that I'm not? Because I don't even know what that is. And, I didn't know what it was, kept getting another certification. It was like, okay, Mike, teach this CCI course. Okay, I'm teaching deep CCIE stuff, I'm focusing on this. And I'm not getting ahead. And all my peers, we've gotten multiple CCIs, we're techies, and everybody else is rising to the occasion. And it wasn't until my manager back in 2000 said to me, Mike, I was in my 80th certification course for a CISSP, which I did in like 5 days training because it was nothing. And in that 80th certification course, my manager pulls me aside and asks me the difference between a $150,000 engineer and a $300,000 architect. And when he told me it was nothing to do with the tech and it had all to do with the impact you make on your customers, your transformation, your business acumen, your leadership skills, I did it. And woof, then I was an architect. But I still had tech skills, so that was even better. The key was knowing how the tech worked, but not getting it there. So I'm going to give you the next leadership lesson I learned. And guess what? It doesn't come from healthcare and it doesn't come from tech at all. This is what made me a good architect. It's called general systems theory. I recommend everybody learn it. General systems theory. It is not used in tech at all. It's used in healthcare. And general systems theory states, trust me, if you're an engineer or architect and you learn this, you'll be better prepared than your rest. General system theory states that the body is comprised of multiple systems. A cardiovascular system, a respiratory system, a neurological system, a vascular system, and I could go on. But in general systems theory, they state that when one system is broken, the rest of the body suffers. So let's think about this. If your heart stops, are you alive? No, you're dead. If you stop breathing, are you alive or dead? You die in a couple of minutes. You cut off your arm. Does that have an impact on the blood in your circulation, which has an impact in your blood pressure, which has an impact on your vascular system, which has an impact on your heart, which then has an impact on your lung? Yeah, it sure does. Heart rate goes up as we lose blood.
Yeah.
Blood pressure drops. Oh, wait, so things are related. And you know what? When I had my first networking job, where honestly I became a lead architect, I was a technical architect inside of the first 6 months. Everybody used to look at the problem like this. There was a routing error. They would go to that router. They'd be looking at route redistributions, access control lists, filters. They'd be on that router. And I wouldn't be. And I'd say the problem's somewhere else. And they'd say, but Mike, look at this router. And I'd say, look, what goes on in the eyes affects the brain, which affects the foot, which affects the hand. And they'd say, Mike, what are you talking about? We're talking about networking gear. I said, let's think about this. I said, the network has a control plane, right? And they said, yeah. I said, the BGP, the OSPF, that's going to determine how to get through there. That's the brain. I said, and hey, wait, we've got these cables in between switches, right? Isn't that like the circulatory system? And by the time I was done with the systems, and I said, see, we can't affect this without hitting this. And when I started teaching this, you know what happened? The engineers basically became holistic. And they no longer focused on that router, they focused on the whole picture. And you know what happens when you focus on the whole picture? Everything works.
Yeah.
But I got that from medicine and not tech. Not tech. Now, when I teach cloud architects and I teach cloud engineers, I always teach systems theory in some way, shape, or form. And here's the reason why. It's always the problem somewhere else that affects you somewhere else. I have a foot. I was training with some elite martial artists in Israel. I was invited as part of a martial arts delegation, and I shattered my foot in a bunch of pieces. Now, it was obvious I did it while I was there, but, I don't pretend to be the smartest tool in the shed sometimes. And I love martial arts, and I won't quit until I win. So if you know that about me, you know I'm like fiercely competitive. So I was training in martial arts with some of the world's greatest hand-to-hand combat martial artists. I broke my foot, and you know what I did? I taped it up, I iced it, and I continued to run around and train with the world's best martial artists for 12 more days. So this was not smart. So not smart that I lost the ability to walk, lost the use of my hand, etc., etc. So I now have one bad foot. Do you think the bad foot stayed in the foot? Or do you think the bad foot turned into a bad ankle, which turned into knee arthritis, a ligament tear in my hip, and 5 additional herniated discs? It did. Why is that? And here's the reason. Here's the reason. The reason is one system always affects the other system. Drive your car with a flat tire for 50 miles. I promise you, your car's not going to be too happy unless it's got roll flat tires. And those are the 2 lessons that I learned so far that are absolutely critical. And the last one, you know how I said it's never about the tech? Ever? You want to know what it's really about? It's about people. Why do I do anything that we do? It's about people. If I can get a private line to someone and all of a sudden I can now talk to people in a village that never had communication to the outside world, did we not make their life better?
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So now I want to teach a cloud computing class in the middle of Greece, in the mountains somewhere. Can I do it with the internet? Yeah. It's about the people. I've got students in Cameroon, Africa, Nigeria, Africa, India, South Africa, South America, Asia. We can do it. Guess what? It's not about the tech enables us to do it, but why are we doing it? It's about people. So everything we do, we have to never get hung up on the tech. I worked at one of the best tech companies in the world when I was younger, and this tech company had engineers like you can't even believe. This company was so good, and the engineers were so good, they'd have 12-hour engineering interviews just to get hired for this company. These engineers were so good that we'd go on competitions and bake-offs. Our engineers would tune the frequency on an ASIC to win the deal every single time because they were the fast. They could make these switches work every time, routers and switches, and win every deal. Technically, how many business deals do you think we won? None, because nobody ever cared about the tech. Our router was better, faster, and cheaper than everybody else's, but the other people sold the solution. They told a story of how the technology works. Steve Jobs doesn't even talk about his product ever. He never mentions the computer. And he made a whole video saying, let's not even talk about the computer. It's not about the computer. In fact, there's a poem that really hit me hard. And the reason it hit me really hard is I was always the round peg and the square hole that never fit in. And it basically says, here's to the crazy ones. The round pegs and the square holes, the oddballs, the people that never fit in, the people that think they're too crazy enough to change the world are the ones that actually do. So here's the commercial to you. It's not about the tech. Steve Jobs was the world's greatest architect. Look what he designed. Transformative life. That Mac became a music tool. It became a movie tool. It became a creative writing tool. It became everything amazing. And guess what it wasn't? Tech. The Apple tech is junk compared to some of the other tech that's out there. And I'm all Apple.
Yeah.
I've got my Apple MacBook Pro here, maxed out. And right next to it, I've got a 64-core Threadripper system with a half a terabyte of RAM in it and a Quadro A5000 card in it. Now, Apple will tell you this computer can outperform that. But my Mac is about 20% of the speed of that. And why do I still use the Mac? It's not about the tech. It's the coolest, most fun thing to use. I like it. So let's turn it over to you, Alonzo.
Well, first, I want to say thank you. It's really good to be here. It's really good to start my first week with Go Cloud Careers. I am excited just to be a part of it officially. So I am ready to just answer questions. I'm really ready to just jump right in with the community as I always have, but on an official point. But when it comes to our subject matter, I think it's really interesting. I've gotten lucky in a lot of different areas. There was once a time where there was a tech opportunity for me, and I really was not the best quality. In all honesty, I didn't have everything that the other people had. They really drilled down into a lot of the detail and a lot of the quality, a lot of the tech of it, down to things that you wouldn't even see unless it was like literally stereo instructions. They really drilled down to that type of detail. However, I was able to get this opportunity because not only did even though I was not fully adept at the tech, I was able to speak about how that tech can transform lives. I could understand and communicate to the client about it's not about what this tech is. We understand what it is. We know what it looks like. We know what the price point is. We know all of this stuff. But how is it going to generate money? How is it going to transform your architecture? How is it going to enhance the overall environment of your organization and ultimately increase increase the income and revenue of your company, increase the branding, increase all of these things that create and strengthen what the organization does on a day-to-day basis. And being able to illustrate that, they were like, wow. It's like, okay, it's not that you knew the tech, but you knew how it could enhance lives. You
Yeah.
understood what the end game, what the end user could use and how it could potentially increase the value of the business and be able to expand it and enhance it on from department to department, and how you can create that delivery solution for the client. And so they said, that's why we want you. And I'm like, wow, it's like, okay, I came in there and like, okay, I may not be able to get this, but I'm going to give it everything I got, and I'm going to maximize the skills that I've had and built on over different careers, and be able to present it with confidence, despite me not having all the drilled down to the molecular level of what this particular tech could do. But I went in there fully focused. I went in there with a plan. I went in there with an understanding of how I can deliver solutions, and overall believed in myself about how I can make this happen. So I think, based on that segue, I think it's really important, and I'm going to use the general the relationship of what Mike had mentioned about how all these systems comes into play, and I'm going to articulate that from my perspective. So now you think about working, you think about mentally. Where does it all start? What is your desire start? It starts inside. How do you verbalize, oh, how do you bring it into life? You start to verbalize it. You start to put pen to paper. You start to communicate what your goals are to someone, to a sounding board, or to someone that you trust and can support you in your endeavors. You start creating that plan on how to execute, whether it's time management, whether it's joining Go Cloud Careers, picking that particular development course that you want. How are you going to spend your week doing this thing? And ultimately, how are you going to continue to physically apply yourself and focus through discipline and tenacity on how to realize your goals? And so you see how this systematically works. Like, say, for instance, Mike used the amputation piece of like, okay, you lose, you're going to lose your arm, you're going to lose blood pressure, you're going to lose a lot of things that you need, in relationship to the blood, into the circulatory, into the pulmonary. All these things are going to come. They're going to start shutting down because of this one system. So when you think about, if you start speaking negatively about, I don't have this, or I never started here, I don't have enough of a tech background to move forward. When you start feeding the negativity or feeding the positivity, that is how it's going to manifest outside your physical being, outside in what you do, outside in how you handle things, how you plan, how you move forward, how you decide to dedicate your time, your future, your life into these things. And this is some of the stuff that I take to heart. So, say, for instance, we can take it all the way back to that episode about our favorite books, and about, like, say, for instance, the 48 Laws of Power, and about how you can start manifesting these things in reality based on how you feel and bringing that from the outward in. These are some of the things that I help to apply myself when it comes to leadership, when it comes to opportunities, when it comes to communicating. And I've had a lot of different opportunities to speak to some amazing people that are very famous, and having some real honest conversations with them, because I say to myself, you're famous, I'm not. However, that doesn't make you any more or less important than me, because you have had an opportunity at success first. I can have these things just as much as you have them. It's all about your belief system. It's all about manifesting what's inside outwardly, and being able to be confident in your approach. When you jump into that room, whether it's a social environment, whether it's a client facing opportunity for interviews, whether it's an interview yourself, whether even if you're presenting in class as well, it's that confidence.
Yeah.
I know I can do it because I know I belong here. I belong here with these CEOs. I'm able to manifest and communicate effectively about what things that they need and be able to share things that they didn't even realize that they do need. I have command of this room, and I'm not going to give it away to fear. You're not going to give it away to self consciousness, or a lack of belief in yourself. You're going to move forward as I have moved forward in being able to realize those goals. So that's my perspective. So I really would like to, if you all are comfortable, I would love to hear from Chau or Leo. Just give me, a minute or two, and I'd love to hear what you guys say about
I saw Chris in the back. I don't know whether he wants to be on the screen yet. Okay, maybe in just a minute.
Yeah, well, I
So,
think Chris may join us from his cabana, and that'll be really fun. I guess he
it.
wants to make sure
Yeah.
that Alonzo and I aren't having too much fun tonight.
Hey,
So
wait
Daddy's
a minute.
checking in on us.
He's supposed to be gone. What is he doing here? Cabana Chris?
checking in on his kids.
Yeah, he
Checking in,
is.
making sure that we're not going there. So,
We
Chau, we'll go
haven't
to
burned the
you.
house down yet, but we do have the matches.
Okay, so to piggyback on what Elonzo just shared, I think mental toughness is a really important part on any kind of journey, not only in the tech industry. I think it is very needed in any industry. I came from a really undeveloped country, Vietnam, and I don't have much knowledge in the tech background either. But
Now,
like
Chau,
everybody
I know
said,
what you know.
We know what you
So,
know. Charles being
her
very
not knowing
humble.
her not knowing tech knowledge is the equivalent of a CCNP, a certified solution architect associate, a professional that knows about 18 times more than that. That's her I'm new to tech. So
Yeah.
let's be honest. It's not like she's just got a certified solution architect professional and she thinks she can get a job with that. She actually knows something. She's capable and she's competent and strong. So Chau, have a little confidence and faith in yourself. That's why I hired you.
yeah, it is really hard to start believe that you can do it in the beginning, but by taking it step by step and setting those little step goals, I'm able to get closer and closer to my goals every day. And it takes a lot of mental toughness. And at the end of the day, I want to always be confident in myself that I pour it on. I do my best throughout the day. That have helped me tremendously in getting closer to my goals every day.
That's awesome. I
And I'll
think,
hit mental toughness
yeah.
after Leo goes real quick. Not only have I written about 10 articles on mental toughness that are recently going to be published in magazines, but I have a slightly different view of mental toughness because it saved my life a few times. So let's go to Leo real quick.
Leo.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, my first time here. And it's not about the tech, it's about people, right? It's about mental toughness and being prepared to be there ready to seize that opportunity. If you are lucky, but if you are not prepared, you do not have the mindset to
Yes.
grab that opportunity, you will let it skip and you will not even perceive or notice the opportunity or that. So
Yes.
you need to be prepared and with the right mindset.
Yes.
Yes, 100%. I like to say luck is when preparation meets opportunity. So all these opportunities constantly abound us, constantly. The question is, are you prepared? I noticed something when I was in school studying medicine first. There's all this stuff that you never hear of. And people talk about stuff and you never even think about it. All of a sudden you learn about cardiomegaly, which means an enlarged heart. It's a Greek word. And all of a sudden you hear cardiomegaly everywhere and you're starting to look at congestive heart failure, right-sided congestive heart failure, left-sided congestive heart failure, because, knowledge, once it hits you, it's there. So, mental toughness, and I do have a topic that I wanted to get to, but let's just talk mental toughness and why it matters to me so much.
Yeah.
So I'm not your normal techie. I practiced medicine first. I spent 7 years as a firefighter paramedic. A lot of mental toughness in that job, by the way. I went to school under extremely adverse poverty conditions, and I had a couple of injuries that were life-changing, and I changed careers when I was told it was impossible. So let's give you a couple examples. When I went to college, I was really poor. Now, my parents made some money, but it wasn't available to me. So what ultimately happened is I couldn't get any kind of loans, grants, or anything for college. So how did I go through school? I worked 2 full-time jobs while I went to college. I went to school from 7 to 3. I worked 3:30 to 11 at the firehouse, 11 to 7, 5 days per week. After the 3 to 11, I got to work class to school a half an hour late each day. And I worked a double shift every Saturday and Sunday for 4 years straight. So realistically, I was putting in 100-hour weeks while going to school and still getting a 4.0. Now, I'd show up late and the professor would make a point and I'd say, look, I can't afford to come here. Otherwise, I'm working 100 hours a week. I have the highest GPA in the school. Could you just leave me alone? And at some point that actually worked. So that was one example of mental toughness that helped build my career, but it wasn't the first time. I was practicing medicine. And you know what? I said I was going to work in tech. So what did I do? I told everybody I knew, hey, I'm going to get a tech job. I'm going to work in networking. Well, lots of things happened. First, everybody told me I was crazy. The doctors told me I was crazy. The nurses told me I was crazy. All the network engineers that I knew told me I was insane. And I couldn't possibly ever get a job in networking without a degree in tech or a bunch of years of help desk experience and all these other junior level jobs first, like network admins. And I said, no. So what did I do? Locked myself in a room. I got my first job 6 months later. I was a senior network engineer as the first job. I stayed up and read 1,000 pages a day, every day for 6 months straight. And then when I became that senior engineer, I read 1,000 pages a day, every day for 6 months, and I became a Cisco certified internet expert. You know what? I was a CCIE where they recommended never even thinking about it without 5 years expertise in those days because it was a harder exam when it was 2 days. I was one within 6 months of the first time I heard about what the network was. Wait, it's not so impossible. If you put your mind to it, you can do anything. You want to know something? I've had patients that every doctor thought was going to die, and they said to me, I am going to live. Do you know how many cancer patients I've seen walk out of the hospital, people that are in accidents that were told they were going to die, walk out of the hospital, all because it was in their mind? I've had patients that had relatives in Africa, Vietnam, and India, and they were sick and on their dying bed, and they literally waited and stayed up until the relatives got there so they could say, I love you, goodbye, and they died 30 seconds later. That's literally how much mental toughness matters. And Cabana Chris, we're going to bring you in 2 minutes. But so mental toughness. If you want to change careers, mental toughness is critical. If you want to do anything great, mental toughness is critical. You want to be a Navy SEAL to get through buds? Whoa, mental toughness is going to be critical beyond your belief. Want to do everything great? It's going to be cool. So before we get into the times we've been lucky in our career, let's bring in Cabana Chris from the beach. He's checking to see and make sure that, we're not doing anything crazy over here. Hey, Cabana Chris, how is it?
Oh, it's great, guys. Can you hear me?
I can. Is any cats near you over there? Because Chris found the most beautiful cat while he was there.
Not any cats right now. There were earlier. There's quite a lot of chickens.
Yeah.
And roosters. Apparently here in Key West, all birds are protected species. So all birds, anything with wings, you can't touch. I actually have a video of a rooster walking into a bar this morning.
Wow.
And nobody being able to do anything about it. The workers just looking at it like, I can't touch it. It's protected.
Okay, now what do you have in your hand, Chris? Is there anything special that you're drinking?
Nothing in my hands. Nothing in my hands.
Not yet, huh?
No. But I just wanted to make sure that y'all were doing what y'all were supposed to. I know
we're all here, although I think we're going to take off tomorrow morning and take it a whole special day tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, hey, if y'all are taking tomorrow morning off, I'll make you make it up somewhere else. Don't worry.
I'm sure you will.
You'll find a place for everything. The rest of the team still has to run the company. My brother's here from Greece and then Philadelphia, so I'm going to be hidden tomorrow.
All right. Well, I'll make you make it up. I promise.
Yeah, you will.
Now I can't get my sunglasses back on. Oh my God.
Dad will get his pound of flesh.
Yes. So I hope everyone. I think I just lost you guys.
But we hear you now.
You know,
Am I still
Wi-Fi in
here?
Key West is not known to be, ultra
Oh,
reliable.
I lost the audio. I can't hear you.
Well, Chris, it's
All
been
right.
good seeing you. Thanks so
All right,
much.
Chris.
See, what I love about that is Chris is on vacation.
Yeah.
He's so committed to his team. He's so committed to us, and he's so committed to the students. The students have been sending him messages, and he's been answering. I've been telling him, like, take a day off. So, let's talk about times we got lucky in tech.
Yeah.
And then we'll answer some career questions, because I know there's lots of people that are asking career questions, and then I'll answer some, but let's have some fun with it first. Sometimes in tech, you get lucky. And when you get lucky, just appreciate it. So I will tell you one time, we're going to talk about times in life where luck has saved our careers.
Yeah.
So I'd say around 2000, I was sent to Dubai for the very first time. What happened is a company had sold an IP video solution to a customer, and it was the coolest technology in the world, other than it didn't work. And the company had bought so much, they'd spent millions and millions and tens of millions of dollars in this tech, and it wasn't working. There was TV, and they'd have TV for a minute, then the screen would pixelate, then they'd have TV for a minute, then the screen would pixelate, and honestly, after spending tens of millions of dollars, the customers were not exactly happy about this.
Yeah.
So, obviously, they did what customers are supposed to do. They went to the tech, they hit the level 1, the tier 1, which, is the tape run, is the printer in it, escalate, please. Then it goes to tier 2. Then you get some people that sort of know the tech. Then it goes to tier 3. And now you're getting some really rock solid support engineers. And then they went, nope. Escalate to escalation engineering. Escalation engineering went, nope, this is beyond us. That turned it into the principal architect team like me. And it also turned it into the software developers that actually wrote the routing code for the routers.
Yeah.
So now it's on my radar, the principal architect team, and the software developers, and all of escalation. And oh, by the way, it's the biggest deal in all the company. So somebody has this great idea. They say, Mike, you want to go to Dubai? And I say, sure, I'll go to Dubai. Now, this was the worst flight ever. So I'm in San Francisco because I was in an executive briefing, and I go to fly to London on the way to Dubai. Get on this Virgin Atlantic flight. We take off. It's not a normal takeoff. And I read body language. So I'm looking at the flight attendants, and they're not looking too good. And it feels like we're circling. And I'm looking at these flight attendants, and they don't look good. And all of a sudden, you can hear the pilot get on, and he says, ladies and gentlemen of the airplane, just to let you know, we're having a challenge with one of our engines. What we're going to do is we're going to be dumping fuel. It's a routine thing. But we have a lot of fuel because we're flying to London. So we're going to dump fuel for about 45 minutes, and then we're going to make a landing. Plane lands, fire departments, fire engines, ambulances are like a mile and alone. I'm like, yeah, okay, great. So I'm like, woohoo! Survived this, survived what could have been a plane crash. Thank God I pray so much, whatever. So I'm feeling good, right? So then they say, I call my wife and I tried to tell her about this near-death experience that I survived. And they tell me to get off my phone, and they literally fix the airplane. They fix the engine with us on it. We're on the tarmac. They're fixing the engine for about 3 hours. Then they decide they're going to fly that same plane to England.
Yeah, I wouldn't have confidence. You're dumping fuel.
Nope,
we end up somewhere.
In that plane, and somewhere over Iceland, the plane was sort of shimmying, but that pilot was really good. He somehow managed to land that plane in England real good. But we get to England, and there's a half an inch of snow. Well, for those of you that have not been to England, it doesn't snow in England because they get the Gulf Stream. So England now has a half an inch of snow. My plane is now 5 hours late, and there's a half an inch of snow. So London Heathrow, all terminals, shut down. I obviously missed my connecting flight. I'm not getting to Dubai. So somehow there was one hotel room in Windsor that I could stay in. And somehow I got that last hotel room. And I have no clothes because they lost my luggage. So I'm in Windsor where the Queen lives, and I'm buying Armani suits and buying good clothes. It's really fun, and the company's paying for it. So I'm there for a little while. I go the next day to get an airplane, no planes. I go to the airport the next day, no planes. I go to the airport the next day, no planes. And I'm like, I'm just not getting to Dubai. I call my manager and say, it's not right. This is not meant to be. I'm not going to Dubai, and I'm coming home. My manager says, okay, Mike. 10 minutes later, I get a call from this sales rep, and he calls me and he says, Mike, I need you there. And I said, no, this is not meant to be. And he says, do you understand this is 20% of all the company's revenue? And if we have to give it back, we're out of business tomorrow. Yeah. Can you get there? And he says, I booked you a first class ticket from London Gatwick instead of London Heathrow. You're not going to have a problem. A car service will be picking you up in the morning. So I go, woohoo! Okay, this is great. I show up in the next plane. I'm on this plane. I'm on this beautiful Emirates Airlines. Oh my God. This is the best airline I've ever been on. You know, I've seen CNN, so I'm paranoid what Dubai is going to be like. I think they're going to kill me there. I've seen CNN. I'm on this plane. It's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I get off of the plane. I'm in the Dubai airport. Mercedes being auctioned, Porsche's being auctioned. Everybody's so nice and so friendly. There's a person waiting for me with a sign. They take me in like this Mercedes with like a 12-cylinder engine back to my hotel. There was somebody waiting for me. I've never been treated so well in my entire life. I'm in my hotel room for 10 minutes, and sure enough, somebody from my company networks is ringing my doorbell. Hey, Mike, you ready to go work on stuff now? Like, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. I've been traveling now for a week to get here. Maybe tomorrow. 6 o'clock in the morning, there's people waiting at my door. They're escorting me to the customer site.
Okay.
I get to the customer site, and here's why I said I was lucky. So I didn't really realize all the troubleshooting that occurred before I got here. So I figure, hi, no big deal. I'm going to plug into the router. I'm going to do a show IP route. I'm going to do a show IP M route. I'm going to look at the PIM reverse path trees. I'm going to look at the IGMP tables, and I'm going to have this solved in 20 minutes, right? So that's what I thought. And when I get there, all of a sudden, they're on this conference call. And on the conference call are these two guys, Apurva and Kumar. Now, these are the two freakishly smartest IIT graduates I've ever met in my entire life. They started a whole bunch of networking companies. They actually were the management teams of the people that wrote the routing code, and they're on this call. My buddy Faisal and my buddy Sanjeev were both on this call. Now, one wrote the IGMP code and one wrote the PIM sparse mode code, and they're debugging the code. Additionally, on this call, there are the hardware engineers that actually made the FPGAs, and they're literally tracing the electrons through the FPGAs. And then I get there and I'm like, hello. What am I supposed to do? This is way beyond a show IP route, a show IP M route, looking at PIM reverse path trees, IGMP tables. And they're like, what are your ideas, Mike? I'm like, uh-oh. I have no idea. So I asked them if I could go for a run real quick. They weren't very happy with it. I come back from around and I was thinking medicine. I was thinking, you know what? I love cats, but I'm allergic to cats. I like milk, but I'm lactose intolerant, so I don't drink milk. And I looked at what they had there and I saw they had the brightest and best technology we had to offer. The newest and the best of everything. And then I was thinking, I wonder if this is like medicine where I don't prescribe new drugs. I always prescribe the old drugs because I know the side effects, because if there was a problem, I'd have found out about it by prescribing an old drug. I don't prescribe new drugs ever unless there's no choice. An old drug's $4 and new drugs $400. I'm not in the business of making my pharmaceutical companies rich. I'm in the business of taking care of my patients. Guess what else is good about an old drug? It's got 40 years of research, which means if there was ever going to be a problem, I'd know about it, as opposed to the new drug, which, we find out years later that people die of cancer. So I start with old drugs. This company bought the newest technology. So I said, I wonder if it's the technology that's the problem. And that week I had gone to Panama, to San Jose, to London, to Dubai. And I just happened to pick up some of the oldest, junkiest gear we had along the way at one of the places that somebody was determining whether they wanted to buy the $19.99 card or the $10,000 card. And I had this $19.99 card, which I literally pulled. It was a sample card out of something. And I said, I wonder if the old tech I wonder if the new tech is the problem. So I asked everybody if I can shut off the box. They're like, why? I want to try this really, really old card. And the hardware engineers are like, don't try that. It's a really old card. And the routing code people are like, we can find it. And I said, can I just try the old card real quick? So you're all like, Mike, I don't understand this. We're doing debugging and you're going to some old stuff. You want to put old technology in the mix? I said, yes. Old drugs, old technology. Shut off the box, pull the old card, plug in the new card, cable it up. TV is perfect. And then I say to them, they're like, what? And they said, how'd you get to this? And I said, well, it's from my old medicine days. I don't like to use new things because I think new things usually have bugs and things we haven't figured out. I like to use old tech, maximize it, and use new tech when we need new tech, but don't use new tech if we don't need new tech. I didn't think we needed new tech here. Cured. Now, out of nowhere, I'm a hero. Now, to me, I just got lucky. So I'm being, nonchalant about this thing. And they're like, Mike, we're going to the Burj Al Arab for lunch. And I'm like, I've always wanted to see the sailboat building. Oh my God, it was beautiful. Then it's like, Mike, you know what? You're at the Jumeirah Hotel. How do you feel about the Jumeirah Beach Club? Let me upgrade you.
Wow.
Hey, Mike. And I said, I'm going to stay a couple of days just to know that they wouldn't have any problem. They said, Mike, how do you feel about spending a couple of weeks here? I'm like, a couple of weeks here? Yeah. Okay. Oh my God. What I saw on TV, what I expected to see, versus what I saw, Dubai was one of the nicest places I've ever been in my entire life. I loved it. I've never been so well treated in my life. I can't even begin to explain the wonderful experience that I had.
And it's beautiful too.
Beautiful, but you know what? I did a lot of business there. I did a tremendous number of business. I had that customer for years. I had that customer for so many years that 3 years later, when I had that customer, they said, Mike, is your solution best? And I said, no, the Cisco one is not ours. You know what that customer said? They said, Mike, you've been with us all this time. You've always stood by us. We know your product isn't the best. We want it anyway. And that's what I learned about integrity. I mean, I was always good to people. That's when I learned how much relationship and integrity mattered. Throughout my sales career, people ask me if they can buy stuff, and I say, I don't recommend it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a person in the chat box right now that says, should I buy a cloud architect career and can I buy a cloud architect course and a cloud engineer course? And my answer is, and the reason I guide this to everybody, I want you to figure out what you want to be. If you want to be a cloud architect, my cloud architect course will get you hired. It does every day. And if you want to be a cloud engineer, I want you to take my cloud engineer course at half price, especially because you're going to get a great cloud engineering job. But I don't want you to take both, and here's why. If you prepare to be a cloud engineer, all that time that you're focused on being a cloud engineer, you're not learning how to be a cloud architect, which means you're not going to be a very good cloud architect. You may be a great cloud engineer, but you won't be a good cloud architect. Likewise, if all you study is to be a cloud architect, you won't be a good cloud engineer, and you can't do it all. There's only 24 hours in a day, so it takes 10,000 hours on a small topic to be an expert. Not cloud. 10,000 hours on something small like BGP.
Yeah.
So cloud, realistically speaking, to become an expert, it's going to take you at least 30 years as an architect to even be an expert on just cloud as an architect. So trying to do that in an engineer, it would take you 60 to 100 years to be great at both. So the secret, Mohammed, to getting the best jobs, the jobs that pay you hundreds of thousands of dollars and more than everybody else, is the right soft skills, the right communication skills, and being the world's best. So Mohammed, if you want to be an architect, I want to make you a world's greatest architect. You want to be a cloud engineer, I want to make you and my students the world's greatest cloud engineers. But I don't want you to be jack of all trades, and I don't want to sell you two things. I don't want to take your money to not make you as good.
Right.
If we take your money, it's to change your life. So
absolutely.
I can't tell you can't buy both courses. They're both available on the website for purchase. But if you ask me as the CEO of the company, I only want to sell you what's going to get you to your goal and nothing more. So I learned that in sales a long time ago. I will always do this because it's the way I want to be treated. But, Mohammed, I'd love to get you your goals, and I can get you hired and would love to, no matter where in the world you are. But here's the thing. I just want to do the minimum thing you need to get you the maximum results.
Yes. Totally.
So that's what I learned about luck in my career. So how about you, Alonzo?
Oh, wow. I just to talk about Mohammed, I get what he's doing. It's like you want to maximize every facet. You want to be as good as you can. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, it takes a team. As cliche as it sounds, there's no I in team. The same thing is that there's no tech department where you can do everything on your own. You cannot be in two boats at once. So it's like, if you want to be something, be the best there is, and be that specific toolbox that has everything that you need to be the best cloud architect or the best engineer, because there's going to be different things you need, like Linux or Python, understanding the command line, being able to be very fluent on the command line, which a cloud architect doesn't even touch. That is not what we do. That is not how we get things done. So pick one that you think really speaks to your soul, speaks to your heart, and drill down in it. Just take that time, focus on that architecture, or focus on that engineering. Be the very best you can be, and you're going to be great. So with that leadership and being honest, I think, Mike spoke a lot about what it is, and it's one of the facets of being a very successful leader is being transparent, being honest, being able to talk about what you know, talk about what you don't know, talk about not about what you think you can do, but how you can provide that excellence point to point and not be able to guess your way around and end up breaking something and costing the company millions. Because guaranteed, if you do that and claim that you do something, you know how to do something, and it doesn't come that way, that'll more than likely be your last day.
Yep.
Because they are not going to gamble on you breaking something that has cost them $1 million,
Exactly.
which is probably 10 years, which probably be maybe 8.5 years. You broke that thing in 10 minutes and it cost them $1 million. And you think about it'll take them 8 years based on your salary to recoup that cost. So you think about the amount of money and time that they're not willing to spend. Really focus on your integrity. Focus on how you can drive that business based on trust. Trust is in an organization, as an architect or anything else, is something you can't put a price tag on. There are plenty of people that I've come across who are very professional, who appear to be very professional. And I've learned that at the end of the day, their integrity is something that you can use for fertilizer.
Yeah.
And these are the type of things that you need to ingrain in yourself. Like there's some things, as I observed in the community about, say, for instance, plagiarism. There may have been some folks who well-meaning try to ascertain the best answer based on someone else's research. And unfortunately, that is not the ethos that we subscribe to. It's about making sure that you provide a contribution to yourself, to the community, to the industry, based on your own merits and not based on what someone else has done. Like another example I could say is that of quote unquote a Star Wars analogy. A long time ago in an industry far, far away, I was a creative director, and I had a lot of great opportunities, doing commercials, doing product placement, creating characters for cereal industries, things like that. Real exciting stuff back then. It was really cool to do. And I provided a lot of great ideas on sketch work, on color scheme, theory, concepts, characterization. And unfortunately, I shared that information with the wrong people, and they took my work and they submitted it as their own. I was furious. Fortunately, the powers that be understood where it already came from, and that person unfortunately ended up losing their job because they lied about what they said they did. When everyone understood what my style was, and I already spoke to certain parties before it was actually public knowledge within the organization about how I can get things done. So I think a lot of what leadership is and how you can exemplify yourself is being someone that can be trustworthy, being someone who's transparent, being someone that I can go to and say, Mike, I need you to do this. Can you get it done? Or rather, let me rephrase that. Mike is the CEO and he's asking me.
But even Alonzo asked me, I'd still do it. If Chris asked me, I'll still do it because I value my team. That's why Chris can come in and check on us.
Right.
Not because I value him so much. Even if I'm the CEO, if I know that his strengths overcome my weaknesses, I welcome that.
Right. And also you can trust that person to get it done. Like you asked me, I'm like, can you set up this BGP, Elonzo, in a couple of weeks or X, Y, and Z? I said, no, I don't know how to fully do that as of yet, but based on my skill set, I can ascertain to get that thing done. And I will create benchmarks in a progressional timeline plan to let you know what my progress is so that we can get this done. Not only I shared the fact that I didn't know exactly everything that I needed to know, but provided the confidence to say that I could get it done, provided that open door policy and transparency to say, this is my timeline to get everything done, and I'm planning it and sharing it with Mike. Do you think that I created a sense of trust? Do you think I created a sense of understanding what I do know, what I don't know, and being able to provide that solution to him? Because even though he's the CEO, but he's also, I can consider him, he can be a client because he is asking something on how I can deliver. It's the same concept. So if you can provide a means of creating trust, creating a plan, creating things that are actionable and saying, I can do this, and you do this in front of a client, you do this for a client in front of the C-suite, man, you're going to be in a position where you're going to be upwardly mobile, because they said he was honest, but he provided a plan, he executed it, and he completed it on time and on budget. Man, you're going to have a lot of great opportunities to position yourself for even greater salaries, even greater bonuses, working on some fun work. You're going to be that person going to Dubai, while the other people who may not be have that integrity, they're going to be sitting at the desk right next to the CEO, because they can't trust him to do anything.
Exactly. And you know, when I was a sales engineer, before I became a big time architect, I was working in a channel, and the sales guy and we got along really well, but I didn't trust him. Everything he said was perfect. Wore the right clothes, said the right things, but he was too perfect, and I never ever trusted him. And we were working in a strategic outsourcing team, and I got a call from him, and he said, Mike, you know, there's this nonsense meeting over there in San Francisco. Your best friend Moses is out there. Your buddy Alvin's out there. Why don't you go take the meeting? I feel like going to the gym. And I was like, Dave, sure, I'd love to do it. Well, this was no BS meeting. I had met with one of the largest tech companies in the world, and by the time I was done, we had closed a $1.1 billion deal, or we had recommended something which the other partner company closed for $1.1 billion. So I called him and said, good news. This deal's closing. Look at the commission check you're going to get. And he says, if I had known it was that, I'd have gone out with there. I'm like, well, we got to a yes, so it's good.
Yeah.
You'd think he'd send an email to his manager, my manager, the VP of sales, and say, look what Mike just did. That's what you'd think, right? Well, no. That happened on a Friday. I spent the entire weekend in California with my buddies. On Monday morning, I flew back home. So on Monday, I'm flying back home on the 6-hour flight, and the team has the weekly call. And in the weekly call, they talk about what's going on, what you think you can sell, which customers are buying what. And on the weekly call, the sales guy says, oh my God, I've closed a $1.1 billion deal with this customer. It would have been nice if Mike actually joined me out there.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Pretty
So
cool.
I'm not in this meeting. I don't know any of this. So well, here's what happens. So plane lands. My manager calls me. My manager says, so, you know, the deal you closed? This guy said, you weren't even there. He said, so a couple of things. I made it clear that I signed your expense report, that I saw you in San Francisco, and that you were there in the meeting. And then Alvin said, hey, this manager, did you sign an expense report? Did you approve flight to California, or is your person still sitting in Dallas, Texas? Well, the person was still in Dallas, Texas. They actually asked me, what do we do with this person? And I said, leave him be. I don't want to hurt anybody. Just make sure you can trust them, and don't pair anybody else with them, and never let them be trusted until you figure out what to do with them, see if he gets some integrity. I could have crashed him out of there, but I didn't. So he's still there. Then now we get to a dinner, a team dinner. And, well, I don't really drink, but I like scotch. But I don't really drink. But when I drink, it's scotch. And if I drink one drink or two drinks, it's going to be scotch, and it's going to be a good scotch. Might be $30 to $50 a shot, but it's going to be a good scotch. And given that I drink 4 shots a year, even if it's $50 a shot, who cares? It's $200 once a year. So I'm ordering Macallan 25. I had 2 of them because it was a really rough week. At the time, I had the cheapest manager in the entire company. And the manager says, who's the guy that ordered the expensive scotch? And I'm ready to say me, and here's my money, and I'm happy to pay for it. It doesn't have to be paid for the company. Sales guy goes, I know who likes good scotch. Boof, boof, boof. And I said, look, I would be more than happy to pay for it. And he says, Mike, I'm thrilled you're here. I knew it was you. I just wanted to see who the weasel was that said it was you.
Wow. Yeah.
So it's all about integrity. I guess that's where my point is. Now, I got 3 promotions inside of 2 years. That guy did not get promoted at all.
See, it speaks, it's actionable. It's actionable. You have already had an ethos of how you're going to present yourself to the customer, how you're going to present yourself to your team, how you're going to present yourself to your manager. And people synonymously equate you with doing what you say, saying what you do, as opposed to that. And I guess I'm wondering, it's like, okay, I understand. It's like, why? How could you think that you were going to get a credit for a 1 point whatever billion
Yeah.
deal?
And
And
that's
no
like
one was
15
going
years
to
ago.
do.
That's how big it actually was.
Yeah, I mean, and you think about that's a huge deal now. Imagine how it was back then.
Yeah.
And you think no one was going to do the forensics to find out if Mike was there, because no, you weren't just sitting in there by yourself with the
No.
client. And even if you were, the client would have identified you.
The
Say,
client was one of the world's largest tech companies in the world, and I was consulting to them with what we could do with our gear combined with their gear.
exactly.
I
And
was just
you
a
had
team
to know.
guy, just one of
Right.
them.
Yeah. So it's like it's that type of thing to think that, okay, you lied about it. You think people are stupid to think that they're not going to do their due diligence to understand. Mike said this, you said that. I mean, it's you're going to deal with these type of people in any environment, but ensuring that you create your brand of transparency, your brand of trust, your brand of honesty and truthfulness, it's going to speak for yourself when you're not there to speak on it, presently and personally in any environment, especially with the client, because your manager, when you're executing this type of deal, or you're doing discovery with the client about what their pain points are, what their 3 to 5 year plan is, what their expenditures are, key performance indicators, all these things, they're going to put their best person on it because they know who's going to be able to solidify that deal the best.
And you know what? I have a couple really close friends in sales, some really good ones. You know what I've watched them say? No message, customer, don't buy this. Buy, and then they come back again. The customer calls them back, and they say, "What should I buy? I really strongly feel you should buy this." Do you know how fast those deals close?
Yeah.
Do you know how successful those sales reps have been? They're all running sales chief revenue officers. All of them I know from major companies.
Right.
They did it because their honor integrity was so good. No, don't get me wrong. They're all highly emotionally intelligent, good leaders, extreme communicators, very CXO relevant and senior business people. But the integrity, you can't replace it. That's why I've got friends from the Force Recon Marines for 30 years. You know what? I trust them implicitly. There's some firefighters guys that I've worked with. I got their 6. They've got my 6. I know no matter how bad it is, they die with me. If that's what it took to try and save me. And I die with them trying to save them. And you know what? As a firefighter paramedic, there's times we've all risked our lives to save our brothers and friends and sisters and friends. That's part of life. You need that team, and I feel like you need it. So, for me, I like loyalty. But look at my team. Look who's here. We're from all over the world. And I pick people that the same kind of honor code that I know that will treat my students the way I'd want to be treated. But that's why I'm really excited. Soon we're going to announce somebody. I hired my first person in Cameroon, Africa. I am so excited. Not only am I excited, it was the best experience of my life. The person was so nice and so grateful. It made me cry. I can't even believe how wonderful it was. And I hope we can do much more of that in the future. But the point is, there's so many wonderful people out. And the point is, we go out there and we help each other. The tech is just a means to connect us. Like John Chambers used to say, the tech is to change the way we live, work, and play. It's not to make us slaves to our mobile phones where we can't put them down. It's not to get us used to some ugly tech protocol. It's to make it better. It's to make it that right now, Chau, who's in Dallas, Leo's in Sao Paulo, I'm in Florida, and right now, Alonzo's there near Houston. We're all in the same room. And guys, tell me in the chat box. Tell me where you're at. Tell me your geography. I bet you we have people in South America, Asia, Africa, India, Pakistan, the Middle East. I bet we do. And to me, that's the most exciting thing in the world. I love that. Tell us where you're from in the chat box.
Yeah, we'd love to hear it. I'll share that I'm originally from Michigan. I've lived overseas in Japan. When I went to school, I've lived in Phoenix, Scottsdale, Arizona. Presently, I'm in Texas, and I am looking intently to move to Florida next year.
I got an extra room, Alonzo.
So I'm looking forward to it. I am ready for lots of good sunshine, hanging out with Mike and Chris, and just creating a wonderful and even increased environment for GCC. So
I love it. So far, I see Cool Dude 5699 is in Houston. Ron Miller's in Dallas.
Nebraska.
We got some of Omaha, Denver, New York, but in Pakistan, Cameroon, Pittsburgh, Bay Area, California. That's Al. I know Al. Al's a Marine, and Al, because again, someone you got full trust in.
Pittsburgh,
I mean,
Angola.
Angola. Wow, that's great.
Wow.
This is just terrific.
I
That's the
love
purpose of tech.
speaking. Yeah, it's really cool just speaking with everyone from all over the world. That's a privilege. I really appreciate you all taking the time to just listen to us, and especially now that we're running the asylum and we're just chopping it up and just having a great time. And if you guys have any questions, man, please bring them forward. We'd love to hear from you.
This. So we've got Eritrea, which is right next to Ethiopia. In fact, it used to be part of Ethiopia. We've got Nigeria, Phoenix, and more Cameroon. That's Eddie Patrick, and he's the wonderful person that welcome. We are super excited. He's he's one of the best things I've spoken to in a year, and we're super excited to bring him on. But just that kind of wide international, that's why I love tech. So now we'll talk about tech, but let's be fair. In my house, I've got 256 cores that are running at all times in a cloud. So I like tech. I just usually talk about the transformation, not the tech. Robert's over there in Phoenix. Eddie's over there in Cameroon.
Thought there were, okay, I have questions if you can answer me. I'm new in the cloud and I have a ACA certification. How can I find a job?
Okay, Nasser will help you with this. So there's a difference between certification and getting hired. I really hate to say this. There is no certification that will ever get anybody a job in cloud computing. Now, Nasser, that doesn't mean you can't get a job in cloud computing. You absolutely can. So Nasser, the first thing that I want you to do is tell us what career it is. And then if you tell us what career you want, maybe cloud architect versus a cloud engineer versus a DevOps engineer, because they're all different careers. And if you study the wrong things, you will not be able to get the career you desire. So first, Nasser, if you tell me the career you want, then I can tell you all the things that you can learn. And you know what? Many of those things will be free, available for you on the internet. And you can take that certificate, which will help you get an interview, and then fill your resume in with all the things that are going to get you hired and fill your brain with all the knowledge that will get you hired. And I'd love to do that to help you. But I'm going to tell you this. There is not a single certification in the world that will ever get anybody a job in cloud computing, ever. Because the certifications really aren't relevant. You know, AWS certifications, Google certifications, Azure certifications are a name of the service and how to configure that service. But architects don't configure anything. And we can't use those name of the services anyway with our customers. So for that, that's why it doesn't work. There's also a lot of these services which we can't use due to security and multi-cloud reasons. Again, it's not covered in certification. And then there's all the stuff that the customers have to deal with, which is not cloud, which you also need to know for the job. So kind of, if you tell us what your career you want, we can give you all that you need how to get there. But kind of like going to the airport. You can jump on the wrong plane and get to the wrong destination. But I want to go to Cameroon, I know how to get there. When I go to Nairobi, I know how to get there. But if I want to go to California, it's a different airplane. SRB, what forum do you use to connect with subject matter experts and leaders to discuss and understand the tech world? Well, SRB, here's what I would do. First, what magazines are you reading? If you want to be an architect, for example, I promise you this, you must read CIO magazine. You should be reading Business Week. You should be reading the Wall Street Journal, and you should be reading The Economist if you want to be an architect. And here's the reason why. As architects, we need to know what's going on in the business world because that will change what we do every single day of the week. Yeah. So for the architect, that stuff's really critical. And I would be doing all that. I would also attend conferences, like the Cisco Live conference, for example. That's a great place. Palo Alto has conferences. That's a great place. I would find people on LinkedIn. I would make sure that they are not trying to get the job you want because that means they don't know how to get there. If they had it, they'd already have it. I would not look for junior people in the role because they also don't know. I would look for people with either a senior or distinguished in their title or a manager of the people that hires those in the title. They're the people that can actually tell you what you need to know. Nasser, how could you practice in the cloud? Again, you have to tell me what career you want because the practice would be completely different. For an architect, we don't touch the tech. So for architects, it's about learning the network in the data center. But for a network engineer, it's about configuring routers. For a cloud network engineer, it's about configuring networking. For a cloud database engineer, it's again something totally different. So you've got to tell us what you want. If you tell us what you want, I can tell you how to get there. Michael Addy. So Addie, we know you're from. That's fantastic. I've got over 200 people from Nigeria in my class. Is it just me, or would Mike be a perfect candidate for the Joe Rogan podcast? I'd love to be in the Joe Rogan.
That would be
podcast.
fun.
I love Joe Rogan. A conversation about Israeli comeback techniques, mental toughness, and cloud computing. I'm on. If you can find Joe Rogan, I volunteer.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
I would love to be on this podcast. That dude's awesome.
And you know what? As a person that spent time with Taekwondo and Shotokan and Jiu-Jitsu and Kempo and about 20 years of Krav Maga, yeah, I'd love to have that discussion.
That would be fun.
Angela, what a question. So I think Alonzo and I are both going to answer this.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you what I do to gain confidence, because what I do isn't necessarily what normal people do. I get 100% nervous if I don't know something like the back of my hand. So, for example, when I started networking, the first thing I did on my first day is bought everybody in the team lunch. And the reason I did it was I was hoping I could make people like me before they realized how stupid I was. That was my first goal on day one, because I didn't know what I knew or didn't know. Because remember, I never touched the router and I was hired as a senior network engineer. So there was that. So then when I found out I got that job, all I did was read Cisco books and RFCs for literally 1,000 pages a day for the 2 weeks before I got the job while I was trying to find a house too. So I did that. When I got that job, I found this guy, Nagaraja, and he and I became like brothers. We worked together on our CCIEs together. Every day we studied for 4 to 10 hours after work, and we became the best of friends. So after doing that, I had confidence because I fixed my deficiencies. So for me, the key to confidence was making sure that I knew I was solid. So one of my students the other day says, Mike, I'm really uncomfortable talking about things that I don't know. And I said, thank God, that means you're not a sociopath. And she said, what? I said, only sick people emotionally can talk about things. So for Angela, it's that. Now, there's two kinds of people. I met a 22-year-old the other day, and she told me she was an expert on this medication. And I said, how? She said she watched a YouTube video. And she was lecturing me on an illegal drug at a yoga studio. I said, I'm sorry. In my 20 years of practicing medicine as a volunteer or working as a medicine, I've not found that to be true. But then again, I had to read 100,000 pages of things, had to go to school for 7 years, and I didn't watch a YouTube video. But I did stay at Hotel Holiday Inn Express. So there's that. So I say there's that. So for me, Angelo, practice. Go find the world's greatest experts and learn from them. And then be confident that you know. So I like yoga, for example. A little bit too much. I've been practicing yoga for 16 years. You know how I started practicing yoga? My martial arts instructor sentenced me to yoga. She said, you will do yoga 3 times a week for the black belt. I said, yes, dear. And I did it. Took my first yoga class. Put your hands to heart center and say, oh my, that was, I started like this. And I'm like, I said to my wife who's next to me, I said, this is going to be, oh my God, get me out of here. 10 minutes later, I'm like, whoa. But you know what? What I learned about yoga was breathing, how to stay calm. In fact, I spent so much time with yoga that I actually became a yoga instructor, and not the basic 200-hour instructor, the 500-hour instructors, the ones that work as performance coaches. And I did that to learn how to teach people some more confidence, to learn how to breathe. Learn breathing techniques, the Indian pranayamas. One is like a box breathing. It's called tactical breathing. It's very good. Ujjayi pranayama can be used to relax yourself. Cognitive behavior therapy we use which you use to redirect your thoughts. It's taught to elite athletes. It's taught to Olympians. It's taught to CEOs, and it's also taught to medical patients. So there's a lot of ways you can do it. But those are the ways that I teach, or some of the ways that I teach. How about you, Alonzo? How do you gain confidence?
Well, I think this is first of all, Angelo, let's start with the fact that you had confidence to ask people about confidence in front of people you don't know. That right there speaks about courage. It speaks about the willingness to be strong enough to ask something that you're unsure about. So right there, I'm going to segue into that. This is what I usually do. I get a list, get a piece of paper. I start writing the things that I'm good at. I start writing about the things that I know about. I start writing the things that I can teach about. Write that down on a list for yourself. Let's start with the courage that you had to ask a question. These are the things, these are the bare bones, the fundamental about how you can get to that confidence. You list the things that you share that you know about, and then you can use that as experience to propel yourself into things that you're unsure about. Say, for instance, I don't know about the cloud. I don't know about, say, for instance, the storage or the network or anything else. Start small and start building up from there. Get into, and I know this probably sounds hokey. I think it is. First of all, I really believe that everyone's a leader. You just haven't figured it out for yourself yet.
And I'm going to address that when you're finished. It's so important.
Yeah. And I think it's all innate, but I definitely, Angelo, what I really believe, get in front of the mirror and start believing in you. Start getting in front of the mirror and start, and even though this might sound hokey or it's a mantra, saying I'm good enough to do anything that I set my mind out to do. You have to start believing it. You have to start putting that forward and projecting it. Like I said earlier before, it starts from within and you start projecting that outward. You start verbalizing, you start living that action. And like Mike said, or rather the old adage is, start practicing and dressing for the role you want to be. If you want that confidence, start projecting it, start sharing it, start talking about, I can do this. And there's a difference between arrogance and confidence. Arrogance is talking about things overtly and negatively to make someone else feel small or less than what they are. Being confident is being able to project what I know I can do, even if I don't know how to, because you have a belief in yourself. So I think that with that being said, Angelo, I think that those are some great starting points. Back to you.
And I'm going to address two things. In fact, I'm going to make a special social media post for you tomorrow on this topic.
Yeah.
And it's going to talk about how some people want to only do it in your mind, but how to get to execution. So tonight, I'll write a nice LinkedIn post. Please like me, follow me on LinkedIn, and I will post that first thing in the morning for you. Yeah. And it's going to be about accomplishing your dreams and building it in your head. But let's see. One thing that I want to address for you is this. First, everyone is a leader. And and what I mean by this is, in your life, everyone is a leader. In your job, everyone is a leader. And I make this very clear. So when you're an engineer and you're not a manager and you know the most about something in your team, you're a leader. If Chau tells me something, if she says these 3 students complained, am I going to listen to Chau? Is Chau a leader? Is she going to come to me and say, Mike, these 3 students didn't like your BGP lesson? Would she tell me that so I could do it better next time? Chau, I hope you would.
Yes.
She would. She knows to. And she knows that she would never have me angry for doing so. Leo does it all the time. Leo has suggestions all the time. In fact, he had suggestions when he was a student. Tons of them. Tons of them. I was so grateful for his suggestions, I determined we needed to hire him. Because that's all. But we're all a leader. You go to your job, you're a leader. You're the child in the family. When your parents are doing something good, try to guide them. Everybody is a leader. So there's that. But the thing is, I'm a big fan of the book, The Art of War. And in The Art of War, there's a couple of things that you should know. And this is going to help you. First, if you know yourself and you know your enemy, you will always be victorious. And here's the thing. If you know what you know, and you really know what your weaknesses are, and you fill them in, and you start looking at your competition, I'm going to tell you, for the most part, the reason I ask people to focus on the technology is this. If I ask someone where the beginning of a subnet begins, and I ask 1,000 people, 999 won't know. If I ask 999 AWS certified people what a virtual machine is, 2 will know. I'm not joking. And all of my team that does interviews will tell you this. If I ask 1,000 AWS certified solution architect professionals what BGP is, all 1,000 are going to say no. So know what you know, become good, strong, and competent, and then go interact with your peers, find out exactly how much they don't know, and you'll say, woohoo, I'm here and they're there. Because know yourself, know your enemy. Now, if you don't know your enemy and all you see is all your silly enemy certifications, which is your competition, and they've got 1 million certifications, Angela, I promise you this, they know nothing about anything. I promise you they went to one of 3 websites and they basically bought a copy of the exam, took the exam, and passed it, and they know nothing about anything. So there's that. Now, in The Art of War, they said something else. Win first and then go to war. Okay, so what the heck are they talking about in this book from thousands of years ago? Here's the thing. You've got to see it here. So, Angelo, what do you want to be? You got to plan it in, see it in your mind. Now, this is not the yoga people. I'm going to manifest this and it's going to get here. Am I going to do cars here? This is not this. You got to see it in your head. And I'm a yogi, so I can make fun of yogis a little bit because I am one. But, you got to see it in here. You got to see it in your mind. You got to see it, feel it, taste it. You got to know what you can do. You got to know you have it in you. Then you got to believe it. Then, once you know you can do it, because you've already planned it in your mind, now you build your battle plan. You do the gap analysis and say, this is what the employer needs and this is where I'm at now. I got to go fix this stuff and fast. Then you build your step-by-step list of all the things you need to do. You build your plan. You build a backup plan just in case. And then you go attack that plan like a lion would. Yes. Attack some more. And this is how I live my life. And you know what? You keep attacking. And sure, when that lion chases the wildebeest and the giraffes and the hyenas and everything, the lion gets tired, but it keeps going until it brings home dinner for its family. Keep going. Never quit. Be the lion. Then when you're done that and you get your goals, celebrate. But guess what? Sometimes along the lion attacks a fleet of wildebeest. And the fleet of wildebeest is too big and the lion knows it's going to die, so the lion changes directions. Guess what? It adapts. It improvises, and an hour later, it goes looking for more food for its family.
Yeah.
So build your plan, build your backup plan, and fight. And you know what? If you hit a stumbling block, don't worry about it. Adapt, improvise, overcome. Jump over it. Knock it down. Obliterate it. Go to the left of it. Go to the right of it. There's always a way. It's like in jiu-jitsu. For every move, there's a counter move. That's why I can be put in 18,000 locks. And I can put Buddy in 18,000 locks, and we could literally be rolling around for 8 hours. And no, because for every move, there's a counter move. So do that, but keep going. And then when you get there, celebrate it. And thank all the wonderful people that got you there. Yes. Your wife, your husband, your kids, your aunt, your parents, anybody. Because to accomplish anything great, it takes a lot of good people along the way.
Definitely.
That's what I would say. You got any ideas there, Alonzo?
I think you framed it perfectly. You did.
We talked about integrity before. Now we're talking about confidence. Yeah. Part of gaining confidence is daring to try and taking ownership. If you make a mistake, if something goes bad, take ownership. Right. Have integrity and say, I'm the one responsible for that. And you'll see that mistake will not be the end of the world. And then you will gain confidence because you tried something new and you learn from that.
And one more thing that I'll say. Try to do things that you're afraid of. So, I got to say this. It sounds terrible, but I've always been afraid of spiders and snakes. So one day my wife says, don't kill spiders anymore. Take them out of the house, escort them. So now I'm catching them in a cup, sliding a piece of paper under the cup and escorting to the house. You know what? After the first 100 or 200 spiders, I'm not scared of them anymore. So then snakes. I do not like snakes. So I live in Florida, so snakes get in your sliding glass doors all the time. Well, my cat doesn't let me shut the door to my house. I have sliding glass doors. I close the door. She's outside. And she looks at me with these sad eyes. I let her back in. As soon as I let her back in, I close the door. She's scraping at the door wanting to go out. So she won't let me close that door without crying. So I leave the door open too much. So now, every once in a while, there's a snake. That's the cat usually takes care of. And then I've got to escort the dead snake out. But, sometimes the cat brings in a snake in her mouth. And we got to go take the snake out of the house. So I'm no longer afraid of snakes anymore either. But so there's that. The Marine Corps actually has a military obstacle course called the Crucible. Mm-hmm. And it's like the scariest thing in the world. You're climbing this thing, you're upside down, you're super high. It's scary. They actually make the people do it because it's called the Crucible experience. When you overcome something that seems impossible and you're petrified and you keep going, it changes you inside. It makes you so strong that you can see you can do it. So that's why they make Navy SEALs go to BUD/S. Look, there's no medical or fitness point in training somebody to exercise for 18 hours a day for 6 months straight. But you know what there is a benefit of? Seeing who will quit and weeding out the weak ones. And the people that stay get stronger and stronger and stronger from that crucible experience that makes them better. So go out there and do it.
Yes.
Go get it. And Angela, you can do it. Bob, Cloud Hired. I love that. Everybody, let's give us a Cloud Hired.
Yeah.
So maybe we should answer some questions. Let's see what kind of questions came in. If you got some questions, let's help you with them. Vinay Shetty, could you provide a discount for both careers, cloud architect and cloud engineer? We absolutely do. So Chau from my team will give you a coupon for 20% off of the cloud architect program. And right now, we very temporarily have a 50% pre-sale discount on our cloud engineering program. In about 2 weeks, that's going to go away, or 3 weeks, and it will never come back again. We're doing it because it's a brand new launch program. So you can have a 20% discount right now on the cloud architect program. And for about 2 to 3 weeks more, or maybe a little longer, you can have the 50% discount on the cloud engineering program. Ron Miller, question, are we going to place our cloud architect program 50% off soon? We will absolutely never do that. This is only an introduction launch. We will never, ever, ever do that. We hire MBAs and really great people, and we have to take care of our staff, and we run the best technology possible. We're not power plane slides. We give our students hired, and for what we charge, which is basically 1 day's pay. I think I've gotten 100 students, $100,000 plus jobs this year, and several of them had $300,000 a year jobs. And if I can, for less than $1,000, get somebody a $100,000 a year job, even if our course was $50,000, it would still be worth, and our course is only $1,000. So no, we will never be doing that. David Stetch, what are the leadership skills? What are the leadership skills for what? If you tell us what you actually mean, leadership skills for sales, leadership skills for engineering, leadership skills for management, leadership skills to be a CEO, let us know what you mean, and we'll happily help you. Cool dude, 5699.
Oh, that's going to be a good one.
Do you have any suggestions to improve one's mental toughness? Absolutely. Not only have I sustained training mental toughness for 20 years, I even took special training from some Navy SEALs that were even teaching additional mental toughness training. And here's where I learned mental toughness. So the first thing I'm going to tell you is, if you had to eat an elephant, and I would never eat an elephant because I love elephants, 1 bite at a time.
Yes. Yes.
1 bite at a time. Because if you had to think about eating an elephant, you're going to quit before you even get there. And I promise you, you can do about 1,000 times more than you think you can. Mm-hmm. One day, somebody told me I couldn't do 1,000 pull-ups. So I said, I can. Now, I'm not going to tell you that I could use my arms for the next week, but I did 1,000 pull-ups that day. Now, I may have laid there like Jello for the rest of the week, and it hurt, and it was miserable, but I did it. The point is, for the most part, any tough person could. It wasn't in my mind. So it's usually mental. So the key is, the next thing is breathing. You know what yoga really is? So when I was in Israel one time, they had a mental day. And they made us stand like this all day long, our arms over our head, in this 110-degree room. Now, there were about 50 people in this 110-degree room. Now, 90% of the people inside of 5 minutes put their arms down and went, that's horrible. Now, there were 10 of us left. Now, of the 10 of us left, there were 2 sets of people. There were the steroided up, big burly people. They were still there. They were a little tougher than us. They quit in about 30 minutes. And there were about 3 or 4 of us that were jokers. Now, here's the thing. I'm saying, embrace that, whatever. And the other guy's saying, ain't nothing but a good time. And another one's like, look at the things we're going to tell our kids at the end of the year. We held our hands over our arm a whole day. We joked, and then we did breathing exercises. By the end of the day, I didn't even realize that when anything happened until we tried to take our arms down and realized we needed help because we couldn't. But it was because we joked about it. Now, if I actually had to think about holding my 2 arms over my head for the 8 hours like we did, or how hot it was, I would have died.
Yeah.
Somehow I wasn't even sweating, but actually I was using some kind of breath called cooling breathing. If you can roll your tongue and breathe in like that, you'll notice you'll actually get a chill. Mm-hmm. Likewise, there's a type of breathing called Ujjayi breathing. If you can come in through your nose and out your throat, that you can actually use to raise the temperature of the body. It's used in yoga all the time. They're actually teaching that to Navy SEALs, by the way, to get through buds now, so they can raise their body temperature in the hot ocean and the cold ocean. But that's neither here nor there. So there's the breathing element. What is yoga? Get into a miserable position and learn to breathe into relaxation. That is exactly what yoga is. So the military one, I did that. And then I went, yeah, the yoga version, I can get flexible, balance, and all kinds of cool things and get the same thing. Yoga is about being comfortable at the uncomfortable. And that's why there's some yoga in our program.
Yeah.
The point of this, and I'm wearing shorts, so it's totally unprofessional, but who cares? Chris is away, so it's a free for all. If I stand in this position, hold on. If I stay in this position for 10 minutes, and we could be here all day, this is not comfortable. But I don't look uncomfortable, do I? But the point is, I'm breathing. Oops, I should not trip on glasses, which are next to me. So don't do that when you've got glasses of water on your floor. But here's the point. The point is, so you just breathe into it, relax into it. So there's an expression called embrace the suck. Embrace it. It's a military expression. Sometimes things aren't good. Guess what? Just laugh it off. I remember when I was a paramedic, when I went to school every day, I'd get there on the ambulance, and trust me, what you see as a paramedic this is not normal. I mean, the things that you see people do, they're crazy. And drugs can be involved. Being a teenager can be involved. Heck, when I was a teenager, I did silly things too. But you see stuff. But the point is you just make a joke about it. When a person pulls a gun on you in North Philadelphia, and you have to take the gun out of their hand to get to their grandmother, to take their grandmother to the hospital. Once you get to the hospital, you drop off the gun at the police station, and you laugh it off. It's like another one. Thank God for martial arts. So you just do that. So, it's part attitude. And I know I'm giving you extreme examples because that's been my life. But, think about getting used to those examples, and then think about the office. Great. I sit at my desk. You know what? Can't sit at a desk for 8 hours a day. I stop and do yoga during the day. Now, I work crazy hours, but I can't do it without taking care of my brain. So I do some breathing exercises at one point in the day. I do some yoga things at another point in the day. There's that. But Cool Dude 5699, if you do what you love, it's really not so much work. And that's why I'm always asking all of you guys to really, what do you want? And the reason is, if Chau wanted to be a cloud architect that only focused on the network and did nothing else, I could get her there. If Leo wanted to be a defensive security architect and that's all he wanted to do, he didn't want to know databases, that's fine. He can be the best it is, and that's still fine. You want to be a cloud engineer that specializes in BGP? Fine. I can promise you there's thousands of companies that need you because it's so hard to find that. So find what you love. Then it's less work. Find what you love and go after it. Breathe into it. Eat the elephant one step at a time and relax into it. And remember this. If you don't quit, you always win.
Mm-hmm.
And also one thing, let's talk a little bit about neuro-linguistic programming. So obviously, we do things a little differently here. Hey, child, don't think of a pink elephant. She thought of a pink elephant. I know she did. So if you want to lose weight and you say, I don't want to be fat, do you know what you're actually programming your brain? I want to be fat, because the brain doesn't process a no. So if I say, Leo, don't think of a yellow taxi, I know he thought of a yellow taxi because the brain doesn't process a no. So if you want to be fit, say, I want to be fit, not I don't want to be fat. So how do you improve your thing? You also change your mindset. I am this, I will achieve this, not I don't want to be bad. I want to be the best. So there's that.
Hey, Mike, I guess we started off as kids understanding that, because what is the first thing we tell our children? Don't do this. They go in the opposite direction. So that's where it starts, and this is something that a lot of people, they need to realize, is that these are some of the lost mental arts that us as kids, when we were kids, this is how we develop these type of mental, this form of mental toughness. So with Cool Dude, it's like focus on perseverance. We don't, I would love to hear what your backstory is. I would love to hear where you originated from, and think about where you started. Think about those prior wins that you came from here and you won this. You fought hard to get here. You fought hard to achieve this. You fought hard to earn this, win this, buy this. That's mental toughness. That's what you did. You did what was necessary to get the job done. It might have been expensive. It might have taken a long time. It might have required you to stay up all night or stay up all day. It required you to sacrifice. Sacrifice is mental toughness. Being able to push aside the things that you want now for the things that you need later.
Yes.
Mental toughness. These are some of the things that can help you to formulate your plan and execute. You can't get anywhere without a form of mental toughness. You can't get your paycheck or the desire to get a paycheck without mental toughness. Whether it's from extreme austere environments as being a soldier in special operations, or just having to deal with someone in the environment. The environment may not be as healthy as you'd like it to be. You have to deal with certain coworkers who may not be as focused on their work or are willing to be a focus of negativity in the environment that you want to thrive in, but you're looking for a way out to get to point A to point B and have to deal with, use mental toughness to get through that situation. There's examples that I believe you probably already have. You just haven't taken the time to realize how mentally tough you really are and what you've had to endure to get from one point to the next. So think about and internalize what you've already accomplished already so that you can realize the mental toughness that you're seeking is probably already within you.
I love that, Alonzo.
Yeah, and I want to add something to this.
And Chau knows a lot about mental toughness. He's tough.
Yeah, one thing that really helped me is you have to find a reason why.
Yeah. Yes.
Because
Yes.
if you have a big enough reason when motivation cannot help you wake up, like to wake up on time, you need to have the self-discipline to stick to your reason.
Yes.
You had to be able to make a point to whatever reason it is. For me, I want to make a point to not be sad and not be poor anymore. So I do anything throughout the day for me to get to my why, for me to achieve my reason. And by having a big enough reason, I can fight over the laziness and I can overcome like smaller challenge in order for me to have better mental toughness.
I suspect we're going to see and
Well
hear a
said,
lot
Chau.
of more amazing things out of Chau in the next few years.
Yeah.
Even in the next 6 months to a year, I think we're going to see some pretty exciting things out of Chau.
I agree.
That's just what my gut's telling me.
Yes, you will.
I know I will.
I love it.
Let's take another question. I don't know what the questions are there. If they're career questions, I'm happy to answer. I've got a little while. I'm going to take off tomorrow because my brother is here from Philadelphia and I haven't seen him. I am super excited. Beta UI, with regards to the vote for your boot camp, what are your thoughts on competitors via IBM, Oracle, Alibaba, or basically it doesn't matter? Look, Beta, it's the same cloud. If you go to Home Depot or Lowe's to buy steel, it's just steel. It's the same virtual machines. It's the same containers. There's that Bon Jovi song, all the same, but only the names have changed. Yesterday, all things are wasting away. I can't remember it, but kind of like the Who song, meet the new boss, same as the old boss. Beta, if you really know one cloud, you know them all. Why do we do AWS, Azure, and Google? Well, for this reason. Certifications will never, ever, 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 ever get anybody a cloud job, but they will get you an interview. And you know what? A certification in Oracle or Alibaba is not going to get it. Oracle is not going to get anybody an interview in the US because it's too small. So we get someone an Azure certification, a Google certification, or an AWS certification. That helps them get the interview. Then we trash all that because there's no more valid out of certification other than that. And then we actually teach people how to be cloud architects. And I know, Beta, you're learning how to become a great cloud architect with us, and you're going to have an amazing career that way. But, you only need one major cloud certification. It used to look like AWS was the king. I don't see it. I think Azure is going to be the biggest one. Azure is now doing much more revenue than AWS. Interestingly enough, with the financial news about AWS losing billions of dollars the last quarter, things that are going on in the economy, Microsoft is now basically a $2 trillion company, where Amazon is now a $1 trillion company. They lost a couple $100 million in market value in the last few days. Close to $1 billion, actually, very recently. So they've lost a lot of market value, at least a few $100 million.
Yeah.
Microsoft seems to be winning the cloud war in terms of revenue, in terms of cloud adoption and growth. Microsoft is open, honest, and transparent. They get hacked. They tell everybody about it, and it makes the industry good. So I wouldn't waste my time. The clouds that really matter are the Google one, the Azure cloud, the AWS cloud, all the same, and the OpenStack and the Nutanix clouds. They are the important clouds because all businesses will in some way, shape, or form run their own private clouds, whether it be Nutanix or hybrid, or at least as a hybrid environment. And have been for years. I've been running building clouds for years.
Love it. Love it.
King Leo, I'm new you guys to your channel in the tech field. I'm going to become a cloud architect through all your program just from listening to your guys' video. Wonderful. What can you expect getting into the program? Well, it's going to change your life and it's going to be a lot different than you think it is. So the program itself is about 500 hours in total. And the program is comprised of amongst three things. The technical skills to be an architect, which include networking and data center technologies such as BGP, OSPF, IP addressing, subnetting, and supernetting, switching, which includes VLAN, VLAN tagging, VLAN trunking, things like 802.1q trunking, ISL trunking, etc. Switching includes spanning tree and rapid spanning tree, so we'll teach that. We will teach NAT, one-to-one NAT, one-to-many NAT, static NAT, dynamic NAT, which is like PAT. We will also teach the DNS, the DHCPs, the ARPs, the proxy ARPs, and all those networking things that you need to know to be solid in your job and be able to do this. Those are the networking things. Then we'll teach the data center technology, such as server virtualization containers and firewalls, VPN concentrators, next generation firewalls, particularly security, IDS, IPS systems. We'll teach about storage area networks, such as block storage, object storage, and file storage, and not to the topical way they touch in certification, but the depth that you need to do the job. We will then teach you about all the business applications, such as ERP applications, CRM applications, healthcare applications, so you know how to architect the stuff, how it works, and how to design it. Now, that's the tech. Then, even if you had all the tech skills in the world, nobody becomes a cloud architect by being a techie. This is not a techie position. This is an executive position. Half tech, half executive. When people only have tech and they don't have this, they never get hired as architects. And that's why one of the reasons why tech training doesn't work for architects. So here we need to teach presentation skills, extreme presentation skills, CXO relevancy. What do you say to the CEO versus the CTO versus the CFO? How do you deal with functional, intuitive, and analytical leaders? How do you deal with verbal listeners, verbal learners versus visual learners versus kinesthetic learners? How do you lead large teams of people? How do you do ROI modeling? How to respond to RFIs, RFPs, RFQs, those kind of things that we do as architects. How to sell, we'll teach you how to do that. We will teach you executive communications in terms of documentation and writing as well. We'll also teach you how to fix your resume, teach you how to negotiate, and get you job ready. So we do all of that as well. So that's the leadership component. Of course, we have a lab component. Now, our labs, they're a little different than other people's because here's the thing. Nobody wants to hire you if you don't have experience. So we give you the labs that give you real experience. So, as certification labs here, set up a web server WordPress site. Nobody cares. And the reason nobody cares is I can hire an 8-year-old to do it. And I'm not joking. I taught a beautiful 8-year-old girl with pigtails, AWS, on how to make a web server in less than 5 minutes. And she's the cutest thing. She clicks, and she says, EC2. Wow. I'm telling you, it's beautiful, but nobody's going to pay her $300,000 a year to do that like an architect. So there's that. So the labs that we do is we'll be working setting up server virtualization the hard way, build containers, build firewalls, build VPN concentrators, set up the Linux, Apache, MySQL, PHP stacks. You'll be setting up and building Active Directory servers, and then you'll build your own cloud. See, all businesses have their own cloud, and a real cloud architect needs to know how to build a cloud because you're going to be designing clouds, and you'll be designing and building clouds. And then after you've got that laundry list of things, plus about 60 AWS and Azure labs combined, now you've got experience. And now you've got real jobs. And we also create an internship for you. Half of our students get published as authors. We do all kinds of branding things. And by the time we're done reaching into our students get on average 10 recruiters reaching out to them every day trying to hire them. So that's what you can expect. If you have a good tech background, it's about 4 months to get you a cloud architect job. And if you don't, meaning like not a networking background, chances are it's going to take you 6 to 8 months to get hired. But our students get hired every day. Today, we showed another video with a tech background, like today's person. Without a tech background, like Coyote or Yvonne Tamba or Jeffrey, our students are getting hired either way. So I hope I answered your question, and please feel free to ask more. Bader, I would say that our strength is more with enterprises and big businesses that really want to hire and pay people well. We are usually focused on people that have the upper echelon in terms of salary and marketability, and the government typically does not provide that. So we don't typically guide people towards these jobs. We typically guide people towards civilian jobs that pay 2 to 3 times more. So that's not really something we focus on.
Private sector is better.
Yeah. As a supervisor, how do you handle your team complaining of the working material is not enough and the company wants the best output? I'm not completely sure I understand the question, but let me tell you this. The first most critical thing is determining what's going on with your team. So first, finding out what. Do they hate the company? Have they been mistreated by the company? Have they been mistreated by their manager? What's going on? If there's a problem, fix it. Because that will keep people from working. Now, if you've got a bunch of employees that basically just don't want to work, fire them. I'm not trying to be mean, but you can't turn lead into gold. And there are just some employees that just have gotten used to not doing anything. And don't get me wrong, I've only fired 4 people in 25 years, but because I'm very selective in who I put on my team. But if you get a bad employee, you just got to get rid of them and replace them with people that want to work, hungry to work. You know what? Look around for that person. Now, you know what? They don't have to be from your industry. Get somebody from outside your industry. Sometimes they're the best people and they have fresh blood. Here's why. Chris, who's on my team, he worked in the hotel industry in the deep operations and program management and tactical background. I've only been in strategy. I needed that. If he worked in tech his whole life, he'd be too much like me, meaning he'd be the same person, meaning he couldn't use his creativity from another industry. I want that creativity from another industry. So bring somebody else in, add some fresh talent, add a different dynamic. I mean, if it's there, bring in people from a wide background. So what really matters is attitude. I hire for attitude. I can train skills. I'd rather hire the best person off the street that knows absolutely nothing and spend 6 months turning him to being a cloud architect and have him work on my floor than hiring a train wreck that doesn't want to work. So I always hire attitude over skills and train skills. So that's me when it comes to hiring. Now, when you've got the people on your skills and you've got a team, the team's not happy, but you've not wronged them, and you still see some good in them. Now, here's where the action comes. How do you raise the energy? Can you start with some team building? Can you get them all off-site? Off-site. Can you get them drunk? Over some dinner and some drinks. Get them drunk. Together, the people will talk. They'll open up, and you can truly find the problem. Make people know that they can come and talk to you. You got to have an open door. So those are the things. First, I told you what to do if they were bad. Now, let's talk about the environment where they're not wrong, then it's good. Motivate them. Take them out to dinner and drinks. Give rewards, best person of the quarter. When they do something, give them some recognition. Write an email to their manager, their manager, give them an award. You know what? Improve somebody's title. Ask someone if they want to do more. Ask them what they really want to do in their career. I one time worked with a team that burned out engineers. They were really great engineers. They were a little burned out. And I got them on my team, and they were all some of the best and smartest people I ever met, but some of them were exhausted because engineers are often overworked. And I looked at them, you guys look tired. And I'm like, let's go for dinner and drinks. Went for dinner and drinks. I asked them, you guys look tired. What's going on? And they're like, I've been doing this engineering thing forever, Mike. It's killing me. Every day, the guys like you guys come in, you buy dinners and drinks. You're all nice, but we are the ones doing the hard work and getting paid half the money. And I went, what do you want to do? And they said, I want to be like you, Mike. 3 of them said that. And the rest of them said, I'm fine. I just want people to respect me. And I said, well, I promise you will get more respect from me than you've ever had in your life. I promise you, your manager, his manager, and every VP will know how good you are. And they said, really? I said, you'll see. I said, no, that's if you do things right. I said, I will get you the recognition that you deserve. You're a leader. I want you to inform me. I want you to make me better. So for those engineers, I got them. For those others, I taught them sales skills, emotional intelligence, communication skills, executive presence. And I told them how not to focus on engineering and how to focus on the big picture. They all became architects. So find out where people want to go and get them there. And when you do that, a couple things happen. You create a sense of loyalty around the organization. And other people become your leaders. They're like, cheer you. Do this, do this, do this. So there's that. The next thing is you really got to be empathetic and figure out what's going on in people's lives. In today's world, everybody's struggling. Either we got somebody that's paranoid over COVID for the right reasons or the wrong reasons. We got people that are divided by silly little philosophical things that are nothing. Remember, genetically speaking, Chau, me, and Alonzo are all 99.9% genetically related. So any little nonsense that divides people, people have been focusing on the dissimilarities instead of the similarities. Focus on the similarities. Everybody is the same. We are one family, one race, the human race. One people, one nation. So that's the way we got to treat people. We treat our students. And our students that way, our employees that way, our family that way. So none of this left, right? We're all people. And then keep going. Bring out the best in others. Really bring out the best. And you know what? You'll get there. Find out if somebody needs, what if somebody's got a problem with their family? Find out what they need. Be empathetic. Fix it if you have to. Sometimes I've worked with people that had such challenges, you got to fix their challenges. I had a person one time I worked with that had tried to commit suicide 6 times and nobody knew. And they came in one day and they had a really bad attitude. And I said, you know what? You don't look too good. How can I help you? Let's talk. By the time I was done with this person, I sent him up with a counselor. He became the company's best employee. The only reason I knew I was medical, and I'm like, let's talk. But go figure it out and go find it. And I promise you, you do those things, you'll do great. Chau, we can bring in the next one.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Perseverance is a major leadership skill. Well, actually, leadership skill, I don't know. Life skill, yes. But perseverance, yes. If you're the leader, the captain goes down with the ship. So the captain is always there. A good leader is in the trenches with their people. And their people see it, know it, and respect it. So, yeah, perseverance is part of it. Daniel, I'll give you this. You're trying to decide between DevOps and architect. Well, if you like to sit behind a desk and be a programmer, then DevOps is okay. Because you've got to be a really good programmer to be a DevOps engineer. Now, keep that in the back of your mind. So if you like programming and you like DevOps tools and automation, DevOps is good. Now, the architect world has much more career potential. You can earn 2 to 3 times more as an architect than as an engineer. But the architect is a job about buying dinners and drinks, giving presentations, doing sales calls, managing people, doing some ROI modeling. And that's why I can pay at least 2 times more than the DevOps career. Now, let's talk about safety in your career. DevOps careers can be offshore to Africa, India, or any country in the world at a moment's notice. So the world can use arbitrage for engineering careers, and here's why. If I can hire the world's greatest engineer in India for $20 an hour, and it's going to cost me $300 an hour to get somebody half as good in the US, not as good, half as good, do you pay the $20 an hour or the $300 an hour? You pay the $300 an hour. Where do we get our best engineers and our best DevOps engineers? We have to sponsor them on H-1B visas from other countries. So why would a business sponsor an H-1B visa to bring someone here? Then they can hire them in their own country. With cloud computing and good networking, it doesn't matter where in the world you're at. So I see DevOps engineering careers being offshored to lower cost parts of the world, which is wonderful for those people in the lower parts of the world. It's going to raise the standard of living and people are going to start having lots of money, which is great. But realize arbitrage will cause these engineering careers, many of them, to get offshore to lower cost places. Now, architecture careers don't get offshore, and here's why. You got to go meet with the customer. So if you're going to meet with the customer, it's not feasible to fly in from New Zealand to New York 10 times a week. You can't do it. It's just too hard. As an architect, you may need to meet with a client in 1 or 2 days' notice. So as an architect, you've got to be there. So architecture careers are there. Now, architecture careers can come into CEO careers, CTO careers, CIO careers, because remember, they're leadership careers. Engineering careers kind of stop at engineering. Now, with the engineering career, Daniel, if you get an MBA, learn the leadership skills, and we've got a program to teach the leadership skills, then you can get out of engineering and into management, which is great if you want that. But if you love being an engineer, and look, I know people that love being an engineer, then DevOps is great. But it's about what makes you happy. So I can't tell, I'm giving you pros and cons of each, but I can't tell you which to do. Ron Amelia will be joining our program this week. Welcome, welcome. We can't wait to work with you. So happy to say that. I love that. You manage many things, you lead people. Exactly. So anybody have any last questions for us? If not, I'm going to go play with my cat Cindy and my brother, which I never get to see. And actually, if you've enjoyed this time, if you can hit the like, subscribe. I'm learning how to do all these YouTube things. Since I'm not really a YouTuber, but I love coming on YouTube. So on Thursday this week, we have our How to Get Your First Cloud Job webinar. Please join us. The link is in the description below. It's completely free. We'll talk about how to become a cloud architect. And you know what? After that, you'll be able to ask us questions live and on Zoom. And we have some questions, so let's ask one more. The length of the engineering course, well, Bob, that's kind of dependent upon you. Number of hours, when all is said and done, it's going to be a few hundred, about 400 hours in terms of hours. How long it takes? Well,
Up to you.
It's up to you. We kind of have a rule at Go Cloud Careers that you're done when you're hired. So we give you up to 12 months in whatever program you're in. And the point was where I'm coming from is you can stay on our program until you're hired or your passes. So how long it takes is how hard you work in the program, because I keep you in the program until you're hired. We don't quit on you as long as you don't quit on us.
Perseverance and mental toughness, Mike.
Yep. It goes to that mental toughness world that we're talking about. King Leo 92. I'd say, typically speaking, we're dealing with 130 or 140 as an average. I've had some people go as high as 300, but they usually have a tech background. Beta, you're right. When I master YouTube, I have to learn to use Twitter, and I don't know how to use Facebook either, but TikTok, yes, yes, yes. Fantastic, Bob. Love if you mentioned Go Cloud Careers. We love that. Quick Strike. So there's one from Quick Strike 21. You would love your very first IT job to be crowd related, but should it be? Or should it be something else with no hundred experience that are old? Well, here's the thing. Go get some hands-on experience being a lawyer and then go learn to fly an airplane. Is it going to make you a better airplane pilot? And I hear this all the time. Hey, go work in the mailroom and then do this and this and this. I personally think that's the worst advice anybody could ever give you. What good does it make you to be good at somebody else's job?
Yeah.
What practical purpose is it good to be good at somebody else's job? You're not going to be doing it. If you're good at their job, you know what you're going to be? Bad at your job, which means you're going to never get ahead. So I see this all the time. I actually had a manager that got fired because of this. I had a manager, he was an IIT graduate, and he was the world's greatest engineer. And somehow they made him a manager because they thought a good engineer would be a good manager. Now then this bozo got promoted to CIO because the company's CEO is an engineer, and they thought, hire an engineer. Well, here's the thing. This bozo thought that he could send me to be a jack of all trades and a master of none like him. This bozo sent me on a trip, and they had a $50 million network outage while I was gone. I said, do you want your lead network architect gone? And this bozo says, yeah, I want to make you learn how to do scripting. I said, why do you want your lead architect or a bank to do scripting? And he says, because it would be good if you knew more stuff. And I said, are you sure? If the cost of downtime is this, you want me to learn this? And he says, sure, Mike. They lost about $50 million in the week that I was away because I wasn't there. So I was then good at somebody else's job. He was fired from his job, and I was promoted and told, you will never, ever, ever be sent for this kind of nonsense again. I hired you to be an expert, and that's all you're going to do. So realistically speaking, in 25 years of career coaching in tech, the only people that never get ahead are the ones that learn everybody else's job. They take 10 years to get to their goal. They lose their 10 years of youth. They never get promoted up, and people see them as the jack of all trades and the master of none. So I strongly recommend you don't do that.
And also I'll caveat to that, Mike, a lot of certain cloud service providers will advertise that if you want to be a solution architect, then you have to go here to get this certification, go there to get this certification, all within on their cloud service platform. And that's just not true. If you want to be a cloud architect, focus on those specific skill sets to be the very best one that you can be. Not a sysadmin, not a DevOps guy or girl, not any of these things. If you want to be a fighter pilot, you're not going to go on a runway for a fashion show walking to be on a catwalk. You're going to focus on being Top Gun, not on the runway. So, yeah.
You know, it's funny. When I was in college, I had a 700-pound deadlift and a 600-pound squat. I was never a great bench press person. And I remember being in the gym, and this bodybuilder, he outweighed me. He was like 260 pounds and full of steroids. And he says to me, how can you, at 190 pounds, deadlift 700 pounds? I said, it's easy. I train the squat, I train the deadlift, and I train the standing overhead press. I don't do bicep curls. I don't do tricep press down. I don't do silly leg extensions. I don't do anything that doesn't make me stronger. You can only do a certain number of sets and the body can recover from only a certain amount without steroids. So I only do the stuff that's part of my sport, not somebody else's. And then I brought a 140-pound athlete that I trained who did a 220-pound clean and jerk in front of him, where the bodybuilder couldn't get 200 pounds from the ground over his head or 225 from the ground over his head. The bodybuilder was strong in being in the machine and fluffing up and looking pretty, but he wasn't strong. That's why gymnasts don't train to be marathon runners. That's why triathletes don't train in Olympic lifting, because whatever you train at makes you good at your skill, but makes you really bad at everybody else's. So train for your career, not somebody else's. How many hours would I suggest someone study? Oh, well, you don't want to go by me, because I just study until I die and get to the goal. So we don't want to go by me. How about you, Alonzo or Chau, from the people that have gone through?
I think you study normally. Sometimes I think it's a fingerprint on how you can not look at the information. How can you retain it? So I think usually in 90-minute blocks, study, focus on a specific subject matter like cloud computing, whatever the flavor it is for Azure or EC2. Focus on that. Set it aside for a little bit. Let that information sink in, if you will. Come back to it. Look at something else, or do a repetitive exercise on looking at that content until it makes sense for you. There's no one silver bullet, I believe, for how you can study, but based on how you return the information, whether you can visually hear it, either you can hear it, either you can see it, or either you can write it. It all depends on what is the best mode of how you can return that information. So I guess I would say look at how you previously retained this information. And if it's not broken, don't fix it.
Yeah.
Keep working and keep focusing on how you study and attack that information and retain it. It's the same thing with the cloud stuff. Use it to the best of your ability, I would say.
And when you know it and you truly understand it, that's when you've gotten there. And if that takes you 2 hours or 2 minutes or 20 hours, when you truly know it, you truly know it.
Absolutely. And this is how I can tell I know this information, is if I can explain this to a 6-year-old. And when you can break it down fundamentally to a point where someone half your age can understand this information, or maybe someone twice your age, if you can break it down and share this information and get them to understand the concepts across the board, that's when you know you are really adept at this information.
Exactly. What if you want to be an architect, but do want to do the traveling, you're in a cloud engineering position? Okay, James, so we got to talk about architect versus engineering. Yeah. Engineering and architecture are so different. I train a lot of cloud engineers that want to be architects, and it's usually slightly harder to train a cloud engineer to be a cloud architect than someone with no tech background whatsoever. And the reason is, architects, let's go outside tonight, look at the sky. We look at the sky and the moon, the Big Dipper lifted the whole sky. And engineering work, by definition, mandates we zoom in on what we do. So an engineer has to use that 200x magnification on the moon. Now, if you go out tonight and look at binoculars through the moon, you'll see the moon, but not the sky. So for engineering, we have to work really, really, really hard to unlearn all the engineering skills and translate them into architecture skills, which are very different. So realize you have to undo that. And I'm going to tell you that's 4 to 6 months of training to go from engineer to architect, because it's different thinking.
Yeah.
And all the engineers that got hired as cloud architects, they're like, oh my God, Mike, it was so hard. All the things you told me worked, and I got hired, but I kept wanting to fix it. I wanted to get hands-on. I wanted to touch the tech. And as soon as I did, it was a disaster. So there's that. The next part of it, James, is in engineering. It's all about how to do, and architecture is how to design. So it's a totally different job. The next part of it is in architecture. It's all about your sales skills, your business skills, your leadership skills, your emotional intelligence skills, which are the exact opposite skills that we need, which are different than engineering skills. So we have to change all those three. Now, the next part is there is no architecture careers without traveling. Unless you're completely lucky and maybe work in, say, New York City, or maybe work in a huge metropolitan area like London. Because there might be enough customers in a geographic region in one of those places that you don't have to travel. But even still, James Penn, you live in New York, your primary work in New York, and guess what? Your customer's headquartered in Hong Kong, you're still going to be traveling. So as an architect, there's no way not to travel because you got to get in front of the customer. So architects will always be there. So if you want to be an architect, I think it's a great career. Learn the business acumen, the communication skills, leadership skills, the design skills, unlearn the engineering skills, and you will have a wonderful career, and I strongly encourage you to do it. Just don't confuse architecture with engineering because they're so different, and you need to basically learn special skills in the design versus how to build. Critical difference. In fact, employers know that when somebody puts cloud architect, cloud engineer on their resume, they're neither. Because the job difference is so different that if somebody thinks they're a cloud architect and cloud engineer, we know they're neither because we know they don't even know the jobs. So keep that very separately in your mind because that's really, really important.
And it also helps you to cut through all the nonsense when you're looking at a job application or a job role. You know what to look for.
Exactly. Because I just want you to get your goal because getting there is good. Now, if you work in a big city, you don't have to travel that much. You'll still travel, but you won't be that much. If you live in Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, like I did, well, let's face it, there's not a lot of billion-dollar company or trillion-dollar companies or multi-billion-dollar companies that do sales in Florida. So you know what? It's not like a hotel needs a cloud architect. It's not like that the hotel needs a network architect either, which is even more rare skill than a cloud architect in today's world, and more critical too, by the way, and even harder to find.
So yeah, you got to get on the road.
And we can get you there, and you can get there, and it's a brilliant career. And you know what? You're not going to be in 3 o'clock in the morning being asked to do stuff.
And when you're on call, you are on call.
So we can answer this one, and then we'll close for the night. How do you handle someone who is in a management position but doesn't have the basic management skills?
Oh, wow.
This we see a lot in tech. We don't normally see it, although with Elon Musk's tweet the other day we may see it again. There used to be about 20 years ago a subset of managers that used to think if an engineer is good, they must be a manager. So what they did is they took their most technical people that generally were locked in a room and didn't talk to anybody and said, now you're the manager. And now you got this person trying to lead a team of people, the team quits and the team falls apart, the manager's fired. So that's typically what happens when techies become managers. They don't have the leadership skills. So be a leader. Lead your manager into being the leader. Lead the team. Start showing some leadership. Start snuggling up with some other managers in the organization. Let them see the good work you do and get another position inside your company for a better manager that can show you the leadership so you can do what you need to do to build the best career. King Leo 92, how often would we have to travel, meet with employers? Well, employers or customers? Depending upon how good you are and how paid you are will determine how often you're going to meet with customers. You know, cloud architects that get about $130,000, $140,000, $150,000 a year, they're going to be relatively stationary and stagnant, meaning they'll probably travel 25,000 miles a year. Somebody that gets paid $300,000 to $500,000 a year, they're going to be traveling 200,000 to 300,000 miles a year minimum. And would you go into contracting as an IT contractor? I wouldn't. I mean, in the old days, maybe, but I wouldn't. And here's the reason why I wouldn't. If you're a good architect and you focus on your business acumen, your communication skills, your sales skills, your leadership skills, and you're working as a $400,000 a year enterprise architect, and you get 4 weeks paid vacation, you get healthcare insurance, life insurance, restricted stock units, et cetera, why wouldn't you want the security of that? It's not like it's an admin job for $30 an hour, and if you go contract, you get 65, and it's like, wow, I'm going to make extra money here. These are not really positions, as the most part. They need you full time. So join us on Thursday. Please join our How to Get Your First Cloud Job webinar on Thursday. You come, we'll present for an hour, and guess what? You can ask us questions live on Zoom. We'll have a full conversation, full like we're all doing right here now, and we'll get to any answer you want. So if you've had a good time, please like, comment, and subscribe to the video. If you want to be a cloud engineer, remember, we've got a 50% one-time launch price, and we're not going to do this for long, but if you want to get a good cloud engineering job, we will get you that great job, or at least we'll do everything we can to help you get there. We still have 20% off on our Cloud Architect Career Development Program. You saw another video from one of my great students today who got his first Cloud Architect job, and we want to get you cloud hired as well. Chau can put a link for that, along with the 20% coupon as well. And have a wonderful night, and I will see you guys on Thursday morning in the How to Get Your First Cloud Architect Job webinar.
Been great being here with you guys. I really had a good time. Next week, Dad will be back, but yeah, having a good time and just enjoying it with Chau and Leo, and it's been fun.
It's been really a lot of fun. A free for all. We just started free floated 5 minutes before the show. Hey, Alonzo, what do you feel like talking about? Chau, what do you feel like? Leo, I was really trying to get my cat Cindy on, but she was a little shy today.
Cindy's hunting right now.
Cindy is hunting. Oh my God, she's brought
Yeah, we missed Cindy.
Well, thank you so much for the opportunity today. I have learned a lot, and I'm looking forward to the next Head in Cloud episode.
See, that's Chau. She was a little scared to come on, so she should get it. Got past her fear, and that's how much we love Chau and respect Chau, and that's why we see such leadership in her. Because you know what, people being in front of it will literally turn to 5,000 people, and now she's done it, and now it's all easy after that. The next time you're presented in front of 20 people, it's like, oh, that's nothing. Ken, that's what we're here. We just want to get you all hired.
Yes.
We do our thing to somebody else. We want you hired, and we know what it takes to get you hired because we've done it for 20 years.
Great pleasure to be here today. It was fun, really fun.
Thank you for being on, Leo.
Mike. Thank you, Alonzo.
Most people don't get to meet my team. Leo and Chau are just so amazing. Y'all get to see Chris all the time, and Alonzo and I are practically brothers, so you see us all the time. Ooh, I got somebody really nice to meet. One day we're going to bridge him on. Wow, he's a highly educated, really, really fun, respectable guy, and I think he's even watching on the show. He doesn't know it yet, but one day he's going to be on here because, wow, is he impressive. We have no idea what you mean by build your battlehand. We were wondering that. We say build your own cloud, which means build your own cloud computing environment. I hope that was what you meant. So have a wonderful night, everyone. And if not, you can ask the question again on Thursday. We'd love to help you out. Take care. Have a really good night.
Have a good one, everyone.